Hey now, it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined as always by JD by God Oliva. How you doing, JD?
Bittersweet day. This is for a teacher. It's the second best day of the year. It's the end of first semester, the end of finals. So that's great. Got a nice little 2 week break. But it was also alumni day at the old DeKalb wrestling room. So we had some of our college kids come in the room today, and I wrestled with a freshman from Southern Illinois University. Who was my guy when he was in school. And the old man still has it. We'll leave it at that. I hit a foot sweep and followed him down to the mat, and I landed face first into his skull and broke my nose.
Yeah,
So,
well, I'm sure his head hurts now, though. By the way, so
I got the takedown. That's what's important. It just cost me my
that's right.
face. So,
Yeah. So let me tell you. I'll tell JD's gonna fix his headphones real quick, but I'll tell everybody a quick story. So the last time I landed a double leg takedown, it was in wrestling practice when I was in Japan. For some reason, I thought I was going to be a tough guy and I wanted to train mixed martial arts. So we were training takedowns that day and just it was actually just straight wrestling. And I got a little cocky. He's like, I used to wrestle in high school. And they go, were you any good? And I'm like, well, I used to wrestle in high school. We'll just leave it at that. And so I go to do a takedown on the guy, and the guy was doing he was being nice. He kind of like was almost like falling down for me, just like helping me help because we're just going through the motions. So he kind of like did a pro wrestling fall. But I go and I do the double leg, and I picked the guy up, and like all of his weight somehow, because I got down real low, and all of his weight from like his hip and his back landed on the back of my head and sandwiched the front of my head into the mat, because you could tell my form was terrible, right? I hadn't done a takedown forever. So he lands on it, and I sprained my neck, and I end up going to the doctor because my neck hurts. Well, we didn't figure it out. Like a year later, I had this thing in my neck called a Chiari malformation. So I had Arnold-Chiari malformation syndrome. And what that means is that my brain stem was falling out of my brain and putting pressure on my spinal cord.
oh,
Right. And if you ever meet me in person, I have a huge scar up the back of my neck. This was in 2008. So it took a while to figure it out because my hands were swelling up on me and like they were going numb and this and that. And I couldn't like move my head backwards like that. I still have range of motion issues since then. But that one take, like but that was something that I was born with that we hadn't discovered yet. And because of that moment, we were able to discover it. So in a sense, like it kind of really saved me, because they said if they didn't find it when they did, I'd have been paralyzed, which is
holy
insanity.
Shit.
Yeah. Like they're like, yeah, because of how bad it was. Now, a lot of people have this. It's a low percentage of people have it, but it's still a high number of the people that actually were born with this thing. And, a lot of people don't get paralyzed and things like that. But they said how bad mine was, like I could have been paralyzed. So a double leg takedown gone wrong ended up saving me forever.
Wow. I feel you a little bit. I got 2 herniated discs that went real bad on me in college that changed wrestling for me. I just had to change my style and stuff like that. But that's scary. I was gonna say your first mistake was shooting, because if you're not like, this is an old man wrestling trick. Unless you're constantly drilling like your shots, never take a shot. I haven't grabbed a kid's leg in years, if not a decade. I just throw people.
We were drilling the shots. That's what we were doing.
Oh,
we were just
that was your second
practicing.
mistake.
Yeah.
Drilling. That's hard.
Yeah.
Drill. Wrestle live. That's way easier.
What's up, Ryan Frederick? Ryan Frederick,
Hey.
host of In the Clinch, and he also does all of the MMA stuff for the Wrestling Observer. Welcome, Ryan. He actually is on edibles right now, so this should be fun. If you guys are in the chat, make sure to fuck with Ryan. But welcome, Ryan. Oh, and then our homie official Lil Silver, the one and only Lil Silver. He's back in the chat. What's up, everybody? And then our boy Pat. Pat, what's up, Kruger Child? Needs to change his username because we know who he is. But
yeah, I would have had no idea who that was unless you pointed that out to me.
Yeah, that's our boy Pat. And so let's go ahead and get into a little bit of breaking news. We got some good news, and I love starting the show off with some good news. So let's hit the button.
Breaking news.
We got some good news. So Rich Swann was on the Chris Van Vliet show, the podcast. I guess it's on YouTube and all of the podcast platforms. But he announced that he has signed a 2-year contract extension with Impact Wrestling. And that's really good news. Rich Swann, a former X Division champion, a former world champion. He is main evented the biggest pay-per-view in the history of Anthem-owned Impact when he defended the title against Kenny Omega. He has been off and on kind of a guy here. He gets kind of like he'll get a little bit of a push and then they'll put him right back down to the bottom of the card and he'll get a little bit of a push. So I was kind of worried about him. Like he was one of the guys that I was worried about whether or not he would stick around, but looks like he is sticking around, man. And I'm really excited about that because Rich Swann is great, man. He's a modern day Ricky Morton to me.
Yeah, he's really good. I'm really happy he's going to stick around here. He has kind of unfortunately settled into a gatekeeper role, which unfortunately his world title reign was also kind of a gatekeeper title reign. He was really kind of there to, because I mean, from the moment he won the title, it was when they put Kenny in the company, right? So I mean, like it was from the
really
day
within
a couple hours.
It was within a couple weeks. See, but yeah, it was very, very soon after that, of course.
So it was like the countdown to when Kenny's going to get the belt, his whole title reign, which I thought was unfortunate because we never really got a Rich Swann is the guy reign, even though the reign was a couple months long. But I'm glad he's sticking around. I hope we can do more with him than just having him be a setup guy, you know?
Yeah. And that's really kind of the role that he's fallen into since he lost the title. And I did feel like I really liked that match with Omega, but in my opinion, just watching it, he looked like he had gotten exhausted about 10 minutes into that match. And Kenny was essentially wrestling himself after that for a while. Some people did try to argue that maybe he was working, but I don't know, man. He looked like he was blowed the hell up to me.
I think that he knew the situation he was in and got himself a little stressed out. You know, because a lot of times the blowing up is not just like, I think people mistake like blowing up or getting tired. We talk about this with the boys all the time. It's not that you're out of shape. It's that your breathing patterns get thrown off when you're competing, right? And in this case, performing. And I think he just kind of got swallowed up by the weight of the situation because it was literally the biggest Impact title match in well over a decade.
That used to happen to me a lot in sports, like in wrestling, football, and whenever I was trying my hand at MMA. Like in practice, I would be good and I would do it, but when it came time to the game or the actual thing, I would just get anxiety. It was almost like performance anxiety, and
exactly
like I would be like I just remember like one day when I was playing, I finally got into varsity and they're about to put me into the game, which they never did for good reason. But they wanted me to go into the game and I was like exhausted running onto the field and I hadn't played yet. But I had to control my breathing and just like get to my mental. And then it took me like a couple of hits before I kind of like gathered myself a little bit. And then I was able to calm down, but they used to happen to me all the time. I lost wrestling matches to guys that I was probably physically more talented than, but because they were relaxed and I wasn't, they would get me.
It's a real story. My heavyweight right now has performance anxiety issues. He keeps throwing up. And when I say throwing up, I mean this dude will barf in the middle of the mat. And it's it's gotten kind of embarrassing at this point because it's like the kids will start betting out, okay, when's it going to happen? When's he going to throw up? Like, I think they've got pools going on in the back. I haven't been able to prove that yet, but I mean, every match is right on the floor. I mean, it's not that he's out of shape. It's the anxiety of competing. It's a real thing. And I think that's kind of what happened to Rich Swann in that Kenny Omega match because he doesn't blow up normally. No,
and his matches are always really good, and he has really long matches, and he's had better matches than the Omega match, honestly. I felt like the gravity of the situation probably just got to him, but regardless, he's a great talent. He's one of the top guys here. And we talk about the mass exodus of all the people that left during the fourth quarter of 2022. Well, hey, look, we got a little bit of good news. First, it was Tasha Steelz, and now it's Rich Swann. So guys like that, and girls, but Tasha, sticking around a little bit longer when, they very well probably could have gotten a deal somewhere else.
No, I'm happy. I'm very, very happy that these people are sticking around because like show's already getting hard enough to watch sometimes. So we can't lose the talented people we got.
Yeah, and I think some more folks are coming down the pike, and we'll talk about that later. But we talked about last week. Anthony Green is on his way, and I know they just signed John Skyler. We got to see him a little bit on the show tonight. It looks like he's doing something with Jason Hotch. So I like that they're bringing in some new names and new people. And I was on the Fight Game podcast this week on the Wrestling Observer. 2 weeks ago I was on with Josh Nason, and then this week I'm back on the Observer Network.
Superstar.
One of these days, Dave himself is going to call me and be like, Mike, I don't know shit about Impact. Can you please come and talk to me about Impact on Wrestling Observer Radio with Brian Alvarez? And I'll be like, sure, Dave, I will come and handle this for you. And maybe one day that will happen.
It's good to dream.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not ever going to happen. But hey, look, they bring our buddy Ryan on to talk UFC now. So they need a third body in there to talk Impact, and I'm the fucking guy for it. So hopefully they make that call one day.
It's good to have a dream.
yeah. It's good. It's good to dream. It's good to dream. All right, let's go ahead and. The reason why I was talking about it is because go watch that. It's out there on the Wrestling Observer network, their YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and then also if you're a subscriber to the network, it's out there as well. But I had brought up I watched a really good match earlier this week on the YouTube Ultimate Insider. So Impact, they show indie matches sometimes as if it features one of their stars. And there was a match from Pro Wrestling Revolver from a few weeks ago. It was Steve Macklin versus a guy called Crash Jackson. The one called Manners, whom we've seen on here before. Mance Warner, who we brought up here before. And it was a four-way match between all four of those guys, and they tore the house down, man. It was a really, really good match. I suggest everybody, if you're a subscriber to the Ultimate Insiders, I suggest everybody go check it out. But as soon as I finished watching that match, I was like, you know what? Those three guys that were in there with Macklin, I think those guys are good enough to be on Impact, and they're probably not going to cost you a ton of money. And they seem to like to bring in these former WWE guys all the time. But those guys cost a lot of money, and there's not a real return on investment there. They're not really hitting it home at the box office. So if the box office numbers are going to be the same, pay-per-view numbers are going to be the same, why not bring some of these guys in who are just looking for a shot on TV and give them a chance? I think that's what they should be doing going forward.
I'm going to have thoughts on bringing in former WWE guys when we get to the Patreon half of the show. But it seems like when people leave WWE, what they're really concerned with is how they can get back into WWE. Right? It's like the guy that gets out of prison and then he can't exist outside the prison yard. So he's got to get back into prison.
Yeah. He gets institutionalized, right?
Yeah.
Like in the Shawshank Redemption. Right?
That's right.
What was what was the guy that he had the bird in his jacket, and he ends up getting out, and he was trying everything he could to stay in. I can't remember.
Can't remember his name either. Drawing a blank.
It's a great movie though. Great movie. Everybody go check out Shawshank Redemption if you're under 30. Chances are you have not seen it.
Best Stephen King adaptation.
Absolutely. Well, hey guys, you know what? Let's go ahead and get into the chat a little bit. We got our buddy Josiah. Josiah sent me the recap here because the Observer site has been stealing all the energy from my computer, so I can't do this at the same time. So, and then here's more. Yeah, Josiah wants us to invest in some indie guys. It's more cost effective, that's for sure.
Definitely more cost effective, and it's more interesting. Quite frankly, I'd much rather watch Mance Warner and Manders and Matthew Justice do their thing than some guys who got cut from WWE 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the recap. First up, we got Brace for Impact. Witchy Woman, Taylor Wilde defeated
Before
Kylan
the Impact.
King.
Before the Impact. We're Brace for Impact.
Did I say Brace for Impact?
You did say Brace for Impact.
This is not as cool as Brace for Impact. This is before the Impact, BTI. And Witch A Woman, Taylor Wilde, defeated. You remember that from Seinfeld?
Oh, yes.
Elaine, she wanted to have like her song, and it was Witch A Woman, and Jerry was just.
The boyfriend was into Desperado, and every time Desperado would come on, he would like stare off into space. Great show.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Well, I want my song to be Witch A Woman," and then Jerry was like, "Oh, Witch A Woman, huh?" She goes, "Yeah." She would try to sing it, but she couldn't say witchy. It was Witch A.
To be fair, that is. Who's singing in the Eagles at that point? Is that Don Henley? I forget.
Henley, that'd be Henley. Yeah,
that'd be Henley. That's what
I don't know. I don't know that he's singing that specific song all the way.
Why don't they switch off a little bit?
They did go back and forth.
Yeah, they did go back and forth. It could be Glenn Fry. So I mean,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's Henley though, because he does say "Witch A Woman." See how it does sound like Witch A Woman as opposed to Witchy Woman. Either way, this gimmick sucks. So continue.
Yes, yeah. The Eagles are great. Taylor Wilde's new gimmick is not Witchy Woman. Taylor Wilde defeated Kylan King. I don't know if King is signed here, but I got a lot of people telling me that she's great, and you hear a lot of about that a lot, or you hear that about a lot of the independent women talent that are out there, and so I have not had a chance to see her work yet, but a lot of people say that she's fantastic. So we will see more of her.
She's much AEW. She's fine. She's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, but we lost some women in this company, so we need more. So if
did.
she's pretty good. Let's bring her in. Well, people seem to like her, but yeah, Taylor Wilde defeated her, and that was talking BTI. Thank you, folks. Thank you for talking BTI with us.
Taylor Wilde looks good in the new gimmick, but I don't like the new gimmick. But it's probably better than her punk rocker wearing the ice cream ahoy scooper from Stranger Things outfit that she was doing last year. So
Yeah, she was doing like this whole World War II candy striper thing. I don't know what the hell she was up to, but
mess.
yeah, we're gonna go to the main show. We had the opening recap setting up the main event for tonight, which is the Knockouts tag team. It was Jordan Grace and Mickie James versus Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evan. That is the main event. But first up, we got the Knockouts tag team champions, the Death Dolls, Rosemary and Jessica, with Taya Valkyrie. More on her later. Defeated Deonna Purrazzo and Giselle Shaw with Jai Vidal to retain. This match was okay. They just kind of threw Purrazzo and Giselle Shaw together at like the last possible minute, gave them a title shot, and they already lost. There's rumors surrounding Purrazzo's status with the company, not looking good by the way this match seemed.
Yeah. Yeah, I got nothing on this. It was fine. It was. I feel like we've seen some variation of this match before, and I don't know.
See, they're just killing time until they find some new tag teams. Maybe, I don't know, because I don't know if they have anything for this division set up. They don't have anything for this division, but I don't think they have anything set up for Hard to Kill just yet. So, they're gonna have to get some more talent to come into here.
To be fair, we never really have a division. It's only just who can work this particular set of tapings.
Yeah. And they're in Florida, so that helps out. But hold on just one second. Next we go to Jordan Grace and Mickie James to talk backstage about their upcoming match with Tasha and Savannah Evans, with Grace telling James that she wanted James to defeat Steelz. So there you go. And then after that, we got Giselle Shaw and Deonna Purrazzo. They came face to face very briefly, and then they both agreed that they would never team again. I thought this was kind of funny.
I laughed.
And it was very short and sweet. They just They come from opposite ends of the hallway. They meet in the middle and they say, "We're never doing this again." And then they go their separate ways. And I actually really enjoyed that. That was pretty cool.
My light just died. Sorry. Sometimes stuff just doesn't work.
Yeah. First it was your internet, then it was your headphone, now your lights, and next thing you know, your pets' heads are falling off.
Broken my nose. This is I'm on borrowed time tonight, man. The internet, we have a storm coming through Chicago right now. It's 50-mile-an-hour winds. It's sub-zero freezing temperatures. Everything. We were supposed to have a tournament that got canceled for tomorrow. So nothing's working. Whatever.
Yeah,
it's going to be one of those kind of nights.
Yeah, Josiah and Ryan, just to have your computers ready, you might get tagged.
About to get that hot tag.
You might get the hot tag just in case JD's shit dies. Sami Callihan called out the design to continue the battle from last week. He came out with the design came out, and Diener cut a promo, and the audience, it kind of sounded like Bobby Fish's "Where's the Lie" promo. That place was fucking quiet.
Man,
nobody cared.
It sounded like there were tens of people in the audience.
Yeah.
It was spooky. It felt like we were back in those pandemic era shows where there was no audience, where they weren't trying to fake the audience, where we were just embracing the silence, like the Ring of Honor, specifically those Ring of Honor pandemic era shows. Woof.
Yeah.
Tony Diener, by the way, he's now channeling Eric Young's long, meandering Bray Wyatt knockoff promo, and I'm not a fan.
Yeah, and that was exactly what Josiah called it. It said Diener cut a meandering promo about Callihan having a sickness, and then Callihan, out of nowhere, said that he wanted to join the design, which everybody,
weird.
Literally everybody knew this was bullshit, and the design didn't fall for it. They didn't even attempt to fall for it. They caught it right away. So it was what was the point? And then they just kicked his ass, and Diener hit him with a DDT. It was not good. This whole thing just isn't working for me.
And that's pretty terrible. And Alan Angels is who knows more about this stuff than me? And it's oh yeah, because you were in Dark Order.
You were in the Dork Order, and you were member number 17. So
actually, he was number 5. Literally, that was his name.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is pretty true. Next, we go to Tummy Dreamer. He wanted to talk to Josh Alexander backstage. Alexander said he appreciated what Dreamer went through last week, and that if Dreamer needed to be forgiven, then so be it. Alexander forgave him. Then he wanted to focus on Bully Ray and not his own, and have to be concerned about Tommy Dreamer. He also said that he only loves 2 things in his life: his family and his world title, and both of them are in jeopardy coming up at Hard to Kill. So there you go. Meh.
Yeah.
Meh. Yeah. This was great. We had a video package aired of Ace Austin and Chris Bay getting big wins in New Japan, the Junior Tag League, which was really cool. JD said he finds it amusing they use it to promote Impact Plus when the whole shows can be seen on New Japan World. Yes, but they actually get the footage. So all those matches are singled out now on Impact Plus. So after each match would be over, you could just go to Impact Plus and just watch the matches. You didn't have to go to New Japan World. You just get that match isolated for you. So, which is really cool. If only you care about it as Chris Bay and Ace Austin, that is helpful. And then hopefully you see somebody else there that you like, and then you would go to New Japan World and watch the rest.
Call me crazy, but I think if you've taken the time and money on Impact Plus, you probably only care about the Impact talent and aren't invested in the junior heavyweight tag team scene in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yes. Yeah. And honestly, I'm not really all that invested in the junior heavyweight tag team scene. Although I do want to. There are some good teams, yeah. So Wrestle Kingdom, I'll probably watch every match, and that's usually the one show a year where I do watch everything is Wrestle Kingdom.
Jay White's actually going to do something. It's incredible. The world champion's actually going to show up in New Japan and like do something. It's going to be 40 minutes of him stalling because he's the most boring, overrated wrestler in that company. But whatever.
Well, so Jay White was great here in Impact. By the way, I thought his match was not in New Japan.
He was. I felt like when he goes to better. Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead and finish.
No, but when he goes to New Japan, I don't know if Gato just wants him to be like this 1975 heel or something like that, but he does exactly what you said. He stalls for 20 minutes, and then the match finally gets going. And then once it gets going, it's great because Jay White is really good.
He is.
But yeah, it's super boring most of the time.
Boring. Sorry, John Muse. Boring in Japan. I liked his AEW stuff. I loved his Impact stuff from this past year. But in New Japan, when he bothers to show up, he is boring. Yes. Who remembers he's the champion, by the way? Does everybody just assume Okada's the champion?
I knew he was the champion. John Muse will not tolerate Jay White slander. Hey, John, welcome to the chat, my brother.
Hey, and then speaking of John Muse, did you see John Muse's Bloodline fantasy booking thing that posted to the Patreon this week?
I did. That was great. John was nice enough to send me that ahead of time, and then he pitched it to Papa Garrett, and we got it up onto the Patreon. If they were smart, WWE being they would look at some of the stuff that John's been posting and incorporate some of his ideas, man, because I thought he had a really great take on it. It was fantastic.
We host an Impact show, my friend. I think that the people from the company we talk about should heavily invest in what my man is throwing out to there, because it's far more creative than what we see normally. Thank you, Ryan Frederick. He forgot Jay White was the champ. Thought it was Naito. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but keep in mind, I think Ryan Frederick's on ayahuasca.
It doesn't matter. He agreed with me.
No, he doesn't do ayahuasca, folks. He's just doing edibles. Is what he said.
I don't even know
what All right, Mike. Next, we go to a great match of the night. One of the matches of the week, I think. Mike Bailey defeating Uemura. I love this match. I love both these guys. I need to message Sam. I have a good nickname for her to use on her show for Uemura.
Oh yeah.
Well, she likes Chris Saban's nips, right? So I was like, one of her deals. I was like,
fan of Chris Saban nipples, yes.
I just want to tell her, it's like, you should start calling him Yummy Mora. Because man is handsome.
He is a handsome man. I will agree to that.
I was like, bro, this brother's a supermodel over here. Look at this guy. He's in here with Mike Bailey, and he's great. He's fantastic. This guy's gonna make a ton of money in Japan when he goes back.
Oh yes, though they actually have, crazy enough, they actually have a lot of female fans in Japan who get real excited to watch the men perform. It's shocking.
Yeah,
don't see that in the States very often. Yuya Yumimura.
Yeah,
Sam, please take that, or I'm gonna have to, and it's just not gonna be as funny.
No, it's not gonna be as funny. But
it's just creepy when I say it.
But this match was great. I'm actually gonna do a little bit of play-by-play here from Josiah. But Bailey hit a PK and then a moonsault knee drop to the chest of Uemura for a 2 count. Uemura caught Bailey after a spinning kick and he refused to let go and hit a double underhook overhead suplex. And then he hit a clothesline and a belly suplex and a crossbody to the floor after Bailey rolled out. Uemura went for another in the ring, but Bailey got the knees up. Bailey missed a big spinning kick and got hit with a German suplex. Bailey popped back up, hit the kick on his third attempt before hitting ultimate weapon for the pinfall. Just a great sequence, a great way to end the match. Impact is starting to, with what they're doing with Uemura, I kind of see what they're doing now. Like if they keep on this trend, right? If they keep on this trend, they start using him the way AEW's been using Takeshita.
I was thinking
right?
the same thing. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Putting him in the matches and he's losing these big stars, but eventually, even with Takeshita and AEW, you got to get this guy some wins. And I know he's not an Impact talent, but if you're going to keep him around a little while, you're going to want to get him some wins and build him up. A, for your own company, because he's a very good wrestler, but B, build him up, make him look good, so he can go back to New Japan and be the big star that we all think that he can be. So I really do think they should do that.
Who's the last New Japan guy to do his excursion run with Impact? Do you recall that, Mike?
Okato?
Yes, that would be Okato, the current man who's challenging at Wrestle Kingdom for the IWGP World Title, one Kazuchika Okada. Perhaps you've heard of him. Perhaps you missed the Okato run, in which case you're not alone.
Yeah. So, because then after him, we did get Sonata, but Sonata he was Wrestle 1. Is that what it was?
Sonata was in Wrestle 1. He was Muto's protege. That was when they had the Wrestle 1 deal going on.
Yeah. So I think that it would behoove Impact to get this guy going, because I think that he could be a guy that people will get behind in this company. Big time. Next, we go to backstage. The major players and Rhino and Heath were looking to get a tag team title shot. So they're at Scott D'Amore's door. But the Motor City Machine Guns came out of the office and announced that they were going to face the major players, Rhino, Heath, Ace Austin, Chris Bay in a 4-way elimination at Hard to Kill. Now, okay, all well and good. I kind of saw this one coming, that it was just going to throw everybody into the match. Here's what bothered me about this whole thing.
Go for it. I know where you're going.
Okay. So Sabin and Shelley come out of the office and they go, you know what? We're just getting sick and tired of all these tag teams trying to take our titles from us. We got to watch our backs constantly. So we're just going to have you guys all in the ring at the same time. They just won the titles last week.
Yeah, it's been a week. It's been a rough week for the two of them.
Yeah. Right. Like, I was just like, what are you guys talking about? You guys are a couple of dummies.
If it was anyone else but the Machine Guns, I'd be like, what are we doing? But it is the Motors. But my tolerance is higher with them than it is with most people, so I'll allow a stupid line here or there. But it made no sense. They acted like they've had these things for like they're the Bloodline or something like that, fighting off people left and right. It's literally been a week.
Yeah, it's been the hardest week of their life. The 3-time tag team champions, and they're also the New Japan Strong tag team champions. So those poor guys. Yeah. Correct. Next, Jason Hotch and John Schuyler came out to the ring, and they're getting ready to face Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice. But then Bully Ray's music hit, and he chased Swinger and Dice off. And then Bully Ray came out. He beat up Hotch and Schuyler a little bit before cutting a promo on Josh Alexander. He actually zip-tied Hotch to the ropes and threatened to end his career if Alexander didn't come out. And Alexander ran out. He made the save. He cut Hotch free. And then at that point, Hotch and Schuyler then attacked Josh Alexander. They all zip-tied him to the ring. And then Bully Ray got a bunch of heat on him. Tommy Dreamer ends up showing up. Bully Ray beat his ass, hit him with a ladder. Hit him with a bunch of chair shots, and then that was basically the end of the segment.
So rather than beat Josh mercilessly, they tricked Josh to getting down to the ring, zip-tied him to the ropes, and made Josh watch him beat up Tommy Dreamer rather than just beating up Josh Alexander.
You got to get Tommy on the show, JD. You have to have Tommy.
This wasn't exactly Randy Savage and Jake Roberts. You know what I'm saying? No. I was just this. God, I hate every time Bully Ray is on screen. It's awful. It's just awful. This whole thing sucked. Like, I don't like him. He's gonna have like a minion tag team. I guess that's fine. Like, I guess that's a good use for Hotch and Silver or whatever. Schuyler. Wrong jobber tag team. I don't know, man. It didn't make any sense to me. Like Bully's big plan was to zip tie Josh to the ring. Then what? If Tommy Dreamer doesn't come out, what was the plan then? What would he have done? Just left him there?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he knew Tommy was coming out. I don't know.
I don't know. It's stupid, man. I just the overuse of Tommy Dreamer, like getting sympathy for Tommy Dreamer, whom a week ago he didn't really like all that much, and this week he's like he begrudges, like, yeah, I forgive you, and then he watch him get mercilessly beaten in front of. I don't know. I have so many issues with this story. Continue. This is
You know,
shit, man.
if you're in the ring getting your ass kicked, right, and you're zip tied to the ropes, right, and you got 3 guys kicking your ass, and then Bully Ray's got a chair, and then all of a sudden you see Captain Cholesterol himself, Tommy Dreamer, running down to the ring.
Captain Cholesterol.
You got to know at that point you're fucking dead, bro. Like that guy is not helping.
No, it's over. Yeah, if that's the only guy that comes out to save you is Tommy Dreamer, you're fucked.
Yeah. There ain't nothing going good in your life.
No.
You know, I've heard John Muse say this a few times before, but John says Hotch has potential to be good for them. Haven't seen him in singles against Taven, Shelley, and others. Not at that level. He's looked good consistently when given time. And you know what? And I believe you in that. And I hopefully they do give him some time. And you know what? And to his credit, John Schuyler is a good wrestler, and maybe this will end up being a good tag team.
I have no qualm with them. One, to consider a tag team on the shows, which I'm perfectly fine with. 2, I have no problem with them being Bully's minions. I just hate that Bully has minions because that means he's on the show.
And that they're building the show around Bully.
Around Bully freaking Ray. It's
Yeah.
2022. Can we let the Attitude Era die? That's all I ask for on this show.
You know what? Here, I got my Santa hat on. Dear Santa. Actually, the Santa from Violet Night. That is my new favorite Santa, by the way.
Violet Night. Which one is that?
The dude from Stranger Things, the sheriff,
plays
bad motherfucker Santa. And he ends up, I'm not going to ruin the movie for anybody, but he shows up to the wrong house at the wrong time and has to beat some asses. So Santa's a badass in this one. So
okay, I'm going to say that.
Dude, you got to watch it, bro. It's right up your alley.
I'm in.
Like action. It's a Christmas themed action thriller movie that you'll absolutely love. It's like a heist movie, but with Santa.
Really?
Some bad guys. Dude, I'm telling you.
Okay,
I posted it. I posted it in the new fight game, Garrett's new group of what we're watching or whatever it's called.
Okay.
What are you watching? I just posted that this morning. The movie poster is great. I watched it this morning before work. Dude, I was like, this is like, now it's in my top 10 Christmas movies ever. It's right up there. So absolutely. Everybody go check it out. You got to check it out.
We've been watching the Christmas Chronicles Part 2 at home, and I can't get away from that movie, even though it features Kurt Russell as Santa. That's all I can say about it. That I like, you know.
So I like both of those movies. Christmas Chronicles 1 and 2.
But
they're fun. But my daughter is watching it. She's watching it every day.
Yes,
literally
same.
For the last 2 weeks, she's getting up and watching Christmas Chronicles 2 because she likes the little elves. She's been watching it nonstop, dude.
Andy's in the same boat. He loves it. Like not nonstop, but he loves it. He's like, Dad, let's watch Christmas Chronicles 2. And I'm like, do we have to watch Christmas Chronicles? There's other things we can watch, Andy. Like, yeah, same boat.
So I put on last night to get her to watch something different. I put on The Year Without a Santa Claus, and which I watched when I was a kid, you know, and it's on Peacock. So I put it on, and the fucking wizard demon guy that kind of pops up scared the shit out of her, and like. And so I put it on. I leave and go to the store, and I come back, and my daughter's crying. My wife's mad at me. She goes, "What did you put?" I was like, "The Year Without a Santa Claus." She goes, "Well, the wizard guy scared the crap out of her. She's terrified now. We're watching Christmas Chronicles 2 again."
You never know. You never know what's gonna set them off. Because my kid will sit and watch Gremlins with me, but there's other things we'll throw on that I'm like, "This scares you?" Like it's just you never know when it comes to little kids what's gonna set them off.
Speaking of getting set off, Alexander was backstage and he told Scott D'Amore that he wanted to stop playing by the rules. Well, Bully Ray broke them, and he blamed himself for what happened with Tommy Dreamer. D'Amore said that Dreamer knew what he was walking into, gingerly walking into. But that Alexander was right about needing to stop playing by the rules when it comes to Bully Ray. He never wanted to play by the rules. D'Amore keeps getting onto him for being a rule breaker, but Alexander's the only guy that D'Amore cares has integrity. But this led to them booking a Full Metal Mayhem at Hard to Kill, which we knew it was going to be some type of gimmick match. You're not going to have a regular match with Bully Ray.
Cody Deaner killed a man.
He in fact
stabbed him in the heart. And Scott, the only person, like Josh gets like, you know, angry, and Scott's like, ooh, I don't know. You got to calm down. You have murderers on your roster. Su Young absorbed someone's soul.
Brandy Loren's soul.
It didn't matter who. Like she absorbed someone's soul. Like, I don't know, man. Like, why Josh has to be the only person in this company who has to follow the rules ever is astounding to me. Bully Ray, why is he getting a title match? I know
Well,
he
he
won a
won the
bowling.
call
He
your
won the
shot.
bowling.
Yeah.
He won the bowling trophy. But he's
That's
trying.
true.
He doesn't follow any rules. That's like Macklin. Macklin's the only guy on the show who can't get a shot at any title. It's ridiculous.
Speaking of Macklin, he was up next. Him and Rich Swann, they went to a double count out. So Rich Swann just re-signed. Steve Macklin's becoming a top heel here. They got to find these guys something to do. So they went to a double count out here, and it looks like they're probably setting up a match for Hard to Kill. So, but I did like this segment. Not every match has to have a not every match has to have a clean finish, right? You just they brawled to the outside. They got a double count out, and then security tried to break them up. They fought security off for a little while before they went to the next segment.
Yeah, this was fine. I no zero problems. I think people bitch too much. I think the clean finish thing has become like a zeitgeist thing to argue about. Like anytime there isn't one now, people are like, "Well, it's not a clean finish." Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like you don't have to have all clean. We can utilize a quote unquote dirty finish on occasion. You know,
especially if you're trying to get to from point A to point B. Look, this was
Right.
the main event. It was in
Right.
the middle of the show. They're setting
Yeah.
up a program for later, right? And I
Yeah,
think these
it's
guys are
fine.
gonna have an awesome match. Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
We go backstage. Eddie Edwards cut a promo about how he wanted to move on, but his past from ROH keeps coming back to him with Jonathan Gresham. And then Alicia Edwards walked up and told him that he had to beat Gresham to finally put the past behind them. It's kind of hard to believe these two are married since they were trying to act here. This is from Josiah, by the way.
He's right.
It's just, yeah. It looked like they never met each other based on trying to act. That's pretty funny.
I've never seen a
yeah.
couple that has worked together as frequently as these two that have so little chemistry on camera.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, so Alicia Edwards is only good in brief spots where she just says something random and weird off the cuff. Like she was great in those the Johnny Swingers
Yes.
Casino, the Swingers Palace segments. I thought she was awesome there.
She's much better at being funny than she is at being even slightly serious.
Yeah.
Because she's
Next we go to the main.
stuff.
Yeah, she is. Next we go to the main event. Jordan Grace and Mickie James defeated Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans. Well, can Grace and James coexist? In fact, they can. They coexisted long enough to win the title before they fought at the end. I caught this too. So the announcers actually, and Josiah wrote this in his write-up here, but the announcers talked about how Mickie James was similar to Randy Couture in the UFC, coming out of retirement to face Tim Sylvia. I loved that analogy there. Couture he came back and he beat up Tim Sylvia at one of my favorite UFC fights of all time. Great moment. I love the comparison there, and I'm really glad that it was actually added to this write-up here by our buddy Josiah. But pretty good match. Grace gets the pin here, and then they fight at the end to keep their feud going. So what'd you think?
It's fine. I lost internet during this match, so I saw the beginning and I saw the end. And I saw the post-match shenanigans. So I can't really speak to the match quality because Mediacom was not in my favor during this time.
Yeah.
This is when I texted you. I'm like, hey, lost internet. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. So here's Josiah. He said, "Ha, John, I had my soul absorbed once. What a weird week." That's pretty funny.
That's from a pastor too, so I believe
it's from a pastor, yeah. And then Pat said that Su Yung once ate a Swingerella. I believe that. And then official Lil Silver, whoever wins the match out of Rich Swann and Steve Mack will be the next in line to face the winner. I agree. I agree. I could actually see that because both Rich Swann and Steve Mack have been positioned to get a title shot lately. They've been kind of in that mix with them. So I really like what they got going on there. But hey, go ahead.
I feel like Josh and Macklin is the one match that's interesting that we're kind of been sitting on for a while. That could be pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope the company can deliver something big on it because I think there's a lot of potential there. I really do.
Yeah. So do I. Honestly, you're just asking Mike's opinion. I think they need to build somebody new. I think we need a new guy in that top mix. After Alexander gets through Bully Ray, which I fully believe he will, I think they should immediately go to Macklin, and Macklin should get the title. Honestly, just build a guy. See what he's got. See if he can be the top heel in the company for a little while. because I don't think the other WWE castoffs are sticking around. So why not go with your guy? And Macklin is a WWE castoff, but to me, he feels like an Impact guy because he actually changed. He changed his gimmick. He changed his name. He became a different guy here. He has a brand new character. To me, he doesn't come across as a WWE castoff. He's an Impact guy to me. So, and hopefully he sticks around. I would put the title on him.
To his credit, he doesn't strike me as a guy who wants nothing more than to go back, than to be in Triple Paul's loving arms once again. Like, he kind of strikes me as a guy with a chip on his shoulder, you know, which I would rather see, quite honestly, than a guy who's, you know, trying to brown nose his way back into the company. Yeah. Say Dax Harwood, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. And because he agrees with me, Josiah gets back up on the board here. He says Macklin feels totally like an Impact guy, a la Mox as an AEW guy. I think that's a great comparison. Because honestly, like I keep forgetting that Mox's name used to be Dean Ambrose, right? And honestly, if you put a gun to my head, I couldn't tell you what Steve Macklin's WWE name was. I just couldn't. I have to look it up.
I know he was one of those the forgettable sons or whatever they were. You know, I literally don't remember what his dumb name was because Steve Macklin's a better name. It sounds realistic. They have the phoniest ass soap opera names on that show. Like if you watch one episode of NXT and you hear just the worst goddamn names. It sounds like porn, to be honest with you. They all have porn names. Katana Chance. The fuck is that? Katana Chance.
This is a Mortal Kombat finishing move, Katana Chance.
Fatality. Yeah.
Fatality. Yeah. So before we sign off on the free feed, YouTube, stick around. You're getting the Patreon stuff right here live on this feed. So you guys stick around. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
That was it. Steve Cutler. He's right. That was
it was Steve Cutler. Thank you, Ryan. No, Steve Cutler. Wherever you get your podcasts, head over to patreon.com/fightgamemedia if you just want this type of content each and every week. We're about to switch over to Patreon, where you usually get about 30 to 40 minutes of extra content each and every week. We talk all the Impact news, and then JD and I will just riff on all the hot topics in the world of pro wrestling and anything that comes to our mind. But if you're watching us on YouTube, stick around. We're going to keep the conversation going, okay? All right, Patreon, YouTube, what's up, everybody? We got lots of news to talk about. We got some topics, and then I want to get into the chat. I'd like to do some Q&A with you guys. But first up, this is kind of not really a big story, but it's definitely a story. It's an Impact story. John Morrison, a.k.a. Johnny Impact, Johnny Elite, Johnny whatever the fuck. He was on Instagram talking about his big year he has coming up in 2023. And he tagged MLW and a few other promotions, but he also tagged Impact Wrestling. We've been speculating here for a while that he was going to come back to the company next year, and he hinted that he actually was going to be doing just that. And I honestly, I think we could probably see him by Hard to Kill.
That would be a lot of fun. Johnny Mundo, by the way, was the best of the Johnny names from Lucha Underground, far and away.
I agree. Yeah.
What was his name in MLW? What is his name in MLW? What do they call him?
Johnny Fusion.
Well, that's terrible.
That's the worst. That's the worst of the worst. I don't like Johnny Impact either, by the way. And I didn't like Johnny Elite is kind of a cool name. My favorite Johnny Mundo was really good.
Johnny Mundo
for whatever reason, he was in PCW Ultra in California, and they called him Johnny Ultra, and I was like, that's kind of cool. But
Johnny Ultra is okay. That's a 90s video game character. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, but it looks like, nothing's beneficial. There's no actual, no journalists have really talked about it, but per his post and the fact that he was on the show a few weeks ago, I would say there's a good shot that he's coming back for a little while.
Good point. I'm going to throw this at you. Johnny Impact, I blanked what this was a second. Josh Alexander.
Yeah. I like it.
That's a good match.
Who did Josh Alexander just pass on the all-time list for longest title reigns in Impact history?
I don't know. I have no idea. Oh, okay.
He just passed Johnny Impact.
These things.
Yeah. He just passed Johnny Impact. So I think that's a storyline ready made there. So if they decide not to go with Macklin, which is what my suggestion would be, I think you have a ready-made feud right there with Morrison, who could come in as a heel, and they would have a good program.
I've always liked Morrison's heel stuff. I call him Morrison because he's always going to be John Morrison to me.
Yeah.
I think that would be really good. Like, again, Lucha Underground. That's actually, I think, his best run, to be quite honest with you. I really liked his Lucha Underground stuff. So if we could kind of channel a little bit of that 2014-ishness and bring it to our Everyman World Champion, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I liked his run in Impact, but once he won the title, it was weird. He won the title. He beat Austin Aries in a weird match at Bound for Glory.
Weird. I remember that.
It was just lots of controversy around that match. And then he held it for like 6 months. And but during the entire reign, you could tell he was being a transitional champion to Brian Cage. So look, and you knew that he was going to go back to WWE, and there had been rumors while he was champion that he was actually going to go to WWE. And so it's like, it felt like they never, even though he was the champion, it felt like they really could not get behind him for a long period of time. So they immediately pivoted to Cage.
Remember when Morrison dressed as Dave for the Halloween thing, and Ty was like, I don't know where you're getting that information from. It's like, your husband. He's clearly telling Dave these things.
Yeah. I really shouldn't say it, but he told, it was John was the source, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it's like, we had it on pretty good authority that it was John. So
Humorous.
It's like, another reason why I think that he could be coming here, obviously Taya's here, and that makes sense. Like, why wouldn't he want to work with his wife more? And
she's actually been, sometimes people come back to a company and it feels like they don't fit anymore. Bully Ray, for example. But other times people come back and it works great. I think Taya's been really good in this round. This Death Styles thing, and you know me, man, I was ready to shit all over this, and it's been a lot more entertaining than I expected it to be.
It's been really fun, the whole Odd Couple thing, and the Odd Couple team I think works here. I think Taya's a great character. And Josiah, wrestlers on Twitter bashing Dave are such geeks. Well, we're going to get more into that there, Josiah. We had some more of that today. So next up, next story. Hold on, my phone next story is Miro. There's something going on with him in AEW. So Dave was on wrestling.
There actually isn't anything going on.
Yeah, and that's the story. So Dave was on Wrestling Observer Radio, and he kind of like cautioned Tony Khan from signing a lot of these ex-WWE guys, mainly because they're not wanting to do jobs, and a lot of them just want to go back to WWE. It's kind of what we've been talking about on the show tonight. And then he name dropped Miro as being one of those guys and said that Khan had been pitching him ideas back in November to bring him back to the company, and he just didn't want to do any of them. And so he's just been on ice ever since. And then, of course, Miro, he didn't really deny anything. And if anybody in the chat has more information, but he didn't really deny anything. He said, Dave, what happened in between January to June? And then, of course, Sean Ross Sapp chimed in that he was shooting movies and stuff like that. But he didn't deny that he would turn down all these ideas. In fact, him not even mentioning it makes it sound to me like he did turn down all those ideas. And one of the ideas, I guess, is that he was going to job to Adam Page, and he didn't want to do that. So
that's the problem with the rumors. I read that he was supposed to job to Hobbs. I read he was supposed to job to Orange Cassidy. I read all, that's the thing about rumors. We have no idea. Nobody really knows what the pitch storyline was. We just know the old Redeemer wasn't good with the idea, so he's been sitting home. And then his wife was on some podcast saying, like, well, everybody goes back to WWE eventually. Rusev Day was special, and we call this the Dos Santos thing. She Dos Santos her husband, and now he will be on ice, which we also call caging.
Yes. Yeah. That's what happened. Melissa Santos complained about his use there. And next thing you know, we didn't see Brian Cage for over a year. Like, that dude was nowhere to be found on any Time Warner television or YouTube. Like, he wasn't even doing dark. Like, they just didn't even bring the guy over. If you wanted to see Brian Cage, who was getting a paycheck every week from AEW, you had to go to an indie show to see Brian Cage for like a year. And then all of a sudden they renewed his contract. Or they would not renewed. They extended his contract. Picked up the option, yeah, which is a kind of a crazy deal that they have there. So I got a brace for debate, and I want folks in the chat to chime in here.
Brace for debate.
This is a surprise. I don't even know what we're about to debate.
All right. So, question, JD, question in the chat too. Okay, if you were Scott D'Amore and Tony Khan, okay, say you're Scott D'Amore, and Tony Khan calls you up and he's like, you know what, I got this fucking guy Miro. His wife's talking shit. I'm paying him every week, but I'm not really using him. And you know what? We don't know that we're gonna get this big TV deal like we're thinking. We're gonna cut back a little bit, but I don't want to cut this guy and send him back to WWE because that's what he wants. How about because he's a football guy, right? He's a football executive, so he does this all the time. He goes, why don't we just make a trade, right? I will trade you Miro, and in turn, you give me Ace Austin. Ace Austin's not a big star. He's got a low-end contract. I can afford that, and then I'll make him into a big star. But Miro is a big name from WWE. He can go. He could probably sell some tickets for you guys, push up your business a little bit. Do you take the deal?
If I'm Scott?
If you're Scott.
Okay, there's predications I have in this. Has Miro already signed off on being willing to do this?
Miro's willing to go. Miro's willing to go to the team. Tony Khan's even going to eat a little bit of the contract. How about that? But you got to give up Ace Austin
permanently.
You get the entire contract. It's an NFL trade. It's you're trading one player for another. You get the contract, so you get Miro and they get Ace Austin. Do you take the deal? You take the deal. Okay. See, because I wouldn't.
Perfect.
yeah.
Perfect. This is not planned.
Yes.
Why do you take the deal? Oh, I'm alone on this one. This is good. I get to be an island.
Yeah. So why would I not take the deal? And it's exactly what I said before. They brought in the Good Brothers. They brought in, they brought Eric Young. They brought all these guys back from WWE, brought them into the company, spent all this money on them. Business didn't go up. I think if you bring over Miro, and unless you got this big TV deal on the horizon, and then you want to fill it with stars, or then you would do that. But if everything stays the same, I think you keep the overhead low. You keep Ace Austin and you build him and you make him a guy, as opposed to bringing in Miro.
We're talking about overhead. Tony Khan's eating the money on this deal. If this is just a swapping contracts trade, I have no financial hit on this. Right? That was the terms that I was sold under. Okay. Right. So I have Miro's deal, whatever's left on Miro's deal. Here's the thing is I can use Miro to make Josh into a star. I can take all that Miro cred, right? And I can have him lose to my champion. And if he doesn't want to, I can sit him at home. Meanwhile, Ace is building his name. He's probably going somewhere else anyway. Right. Yeah. So I can just get him out now, get a star on my TV immediately, and I use him to put over my guy. And then when he becomes a pain in the ass, which he initially will anyway, like he's eventually going to become a pain and complain and whine because that's what he does. He gets on there and him and his wife, they complain and they bitch, and the world gets on there too and like, oh, poor Miro, why isn't Miro on my TV every week? I just want Miro. Do I get a job for Fightful now because I complained about Miro so much? I think it's part of a prerequisite. So like that's all you need, right? You just complain about Miro. So that's what I would do. I would just book Miro. I would have Miro put over Josh and then be done. And then if it doesn't work out with Ace, I pick him back up anyway again later.
Yeah. So John Muse says no. Ryan Frederick says no. Michael
I'm
says
alone.
No.
I'm alone.
Yeah. Well, no, Josiah said that he would. Josiah said that he would take it. Yeah. If the terms were, hey, look, you get Ace Austin, you have to meet us halfway on the contract. That's a hard one for me. I'm such a big Ace Austin fan. I don't know what Miro brings to the table immediately. I don't know that he sells you any extra tickets right now, sells you any extra pay-per-views. But if you have a TV deal on the horizon, he could be a guy, and he absolutely could help build Josh Alexander. If AEW outright cuts the guy, and so now this is a no-brainer. If they do to Miro what they're currently doing to Jonathan Gresham, where they work out a severance package where like, hey, look, we're going to cut you, but you can't work for WWE for whatever it is, 18 months or something like that. But you can sign with New Japan, you can sign with Impact, you can do all these other places, but you cannot go to WWE and we'll cut you right now. And then and then you don't have to give up anybody. You 100% bring in Miro, I think. I think you bring in Miro and you immediately make him a guy.
Well, here's what's funny to me. I'm seeing this too in the chat. People are like, well, Miro doesn't sell any tickets. Ace Austin ain't selling you any tickets. Nobody's selling you tickets in Impact. Nothing in Impact is selling you any tickets right now, or else we'd be selling tickets. We wouldn't have crowds sounding like we had tonight, but there's crickets out there.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we have. No, here's the thing too, is nobody in professional, very few, I shouldn't say nobody, very few performers in professional wrestling are legitimate draws in the year of our Lord 2022. They just aren't.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, and here's the thing too, is I think adding Miro spices up your TV a little bit because you're not going to push, no matter what we think, they're not going to push Ace Austin to a world title level. Not seriously, right? They're never going to get
No.
behind Ace Austin as the guy.
No,
They're
they
not.
should, but I
They're
don't
not
think they
going
will.
to.
Yeah.
They're not going.
Yeah, 'cause
I'm playing Scott D'Amore. I'm telling you right now,
Yeah.
they're not going to, or they would. They would have
Yeah.
done it already. So why not get a main eventer for a guy whose value right now is being in the New Japan Junior Tag Tournament? New Japan doesn't
Mhm.
value their junior tag guys. They don't. Right. So that's the thing,
Mhm.
is you're telling me I could get a guy who's actually drawn TV, actually drawn ratings, and I can have him just for a short time, and I can use him to help build Josh Alexander, or I keep a guy who hasn't been on my TV much in the last 6 months.
Man, JD's making a hell of an argument here.
No, everyone tells
So
me I'm wrong. So I want to, like, I mean, everyone's telling me that I'm fucking stupid. So I just want to hear more about how I'm stupid.
nobody said
How they
you're-
should,
nobody
how they
said
should
you're
just
stupid.
keep a guy who they don't use. Cool.
Well, I mean, I think everybody thinks they should use them.
They don't.
They should.
They shouldn't use Bully Ray, but they don't listen to me either. Like,
Well, yeah. Would you trade Bully Ray for Miro? No, I'm
I
just
would trade Bully Ray for a ham sandwich, and I'm gluten
Yeah.
intolerant.
Yeah. And the other one, we don't need to get into it, but I had another. I love trades. I don't know why, because I'm such a baseball
Trades are
hot stove is going on, and then we got the NFL season is winding down, and you don't really get trades in pro wrestling. We had the
Wish we
one in MMA where the UFC they traded Mighty Mouse Johnson for Ben Askren to ONE FC, and I thought it was like, shit, why don't we do this more often? Like pro wrestling should do this. And I was thinking like, hey, look, Impact has a guy on a low end contract. They got him for a few more years. Tony Khan would want to get out of the contract with Miro and bring in a young talent and see if he can get him over. And then Miro's kind of already over. Why not? I think that would be a fair trade. Me personally, I think you get behind Ace Austin, you just keep him around because, Miro clearly just wants to go back to WWE. You don't know what kind of guy you're going to get. And he might not be amenable to do any jobs, but, but talent for talent, obviously I think Miro the bigger talent right now.
Okay, let's switch names. Instead of Miro, what about Andrade?
So that was the next one. That was the next one. So my next trade scenario was Andrade for either Ace Austin or Chris Bay. Mike Gilbert's opinion here. This is just me. I think Andrade, if you get behind that guy, he could be your Canelo, right? Never draw as big as Canelo. I'm not saying, but when I saw him in NXT and he came out to that mariachi music and he was having those badass matches. Before he went up to the main roster of WWE, where they kind of ruined him a little bit. It's like if you can get that guy, the NXT Andrade, I think that like he could be a dude. Like you could take that guy into the southern by the into the border cities there, San Diego, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Chicago. He could be a big draw there. You bring those mariachi guys in and you do all that stuff. I think Andrade could be a guy. I 100%. He's a pain in the ass, but I make the deal with Andrade.
He is human poison. He is a terribly toxic human being and brings it with him to every promotion he's ever been to. Rob Naylor had this, it was Rob Viper, I forget which one, was tweeting about
one of those.
It was whether I always forget which is which, had this big long tweet tirade about how Andrade is just everywhere he goes, he is a toxic human being who brings people down with him. It's not a coincidence that since that guy's left AEW's locker room, they've been in a better place. Right? That dude, we all see the talent, and yet he manages to not be a top guy everywhere he goes. So is everybody wrong? Is everybody underutilizing him? Because New Japan didn't either when he was there. He had a nice little Intercontinental run. Nice few with Shinsuke Nakamura. He was just a guy. Realistically, he was just a guy there to work with Nakamura. Right? He was in WWE. He had a very nondescript run as the NXT champion. Really was keeping the title warm for Galloway before he got it. Right? And then he comes in the main roster and like he doesn't get pushed anywhere, right? Like, and it's everywhere he goes. Everyone's like, oh my God, this could be the guy. This could be the guy. And yet everywhere he goes, he manages to not be the guy. So every single promoter in pro wrestling is stupid aside from the fans, or he's a gigantic pain in the ass that people just don't like to work with.
Everywhere he goes, he takes himself with him. Right. and that's the problem. Right.
Josiah has got a comment. He makes Roosh look professional. No, Andrade is what everyone claims Roosh to be, right?
Yeah.
Roosh's reputation is actually Andrade. Meanwhile, Roosh actually does get to the top of every promotion he works towards. Yeah, Roosh can be a pain in the ass, but not like Andrade.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm a big, I know, man, you're on one. I'm just such a big fan of Andrade, and if you can get that guy to play ball, I think that you go for
That's
it.
the
But it's like,
problem.
but can you get him? And that's the problem. Like, you might not be able to, right? And that's
'Cause
the
he's
risk
like
you take.
he's a pain in the ass. Like, who's he been a pain in the ass to this year? AEW, AAA, and CMLL, and New Japan,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
everyone that has been slightly involved with him this year, he's been a pain in the ass to. So I mean, like, it's either everybody else's problem or you're the problem.
Yeah. Speaking of a pain in the ass, he actually might not be, but Ibushi is back in the news. And I don't know if this is going anywhere, but Ibushi took a photograph today or is posted today on
I didn't see
Instagram
this.
with Justin posted it in one of our little chats, but
Oh, I missed it.
it was in one of the, not in our three-way chat with him, in a different
Oh,
one, but he took a picture with Ninja Mac from Noah, and we have been speculating that Noah has been in negotiations with him, at least they're trying to get him to that promotion. I'm kind of excited about Ibushi possibly going to Noah, man. I think I dig that.
I think Noah needs a spark, right? Because I like Kaita Kiyomiya, but I just don't know if he's a top guy. I know they're
Mhm.
trying. I just don't know if he's got. And this isn't new. They've been trying to make Kaito a top guy for 4 years now. I just 4, maybe going on 5. I just don't know. Um, Kota Ibushi is a top guy.
Yeah. He's been a top guy for a long time.
A
He
long
is
time.
and yeah, he is a pain in the ass, but he has been a top
Different.
guy everywhere he's gone, right?
He's a
So,
different kind of
like,
pain in the ass. He's a weirdo.
he is.
Like
Yeah,
Kota Ibushi just wants to do Kota Ibushi things. Like,
yeah.
different kind of pain in the ass though. But I think, and here's the thing too about Kota, he's a DDT guy, right?
Mhm.
DDT is also a cyber agent company, so he's got that relationship with Tagaki. So yes, Ibushi Nakajima would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Ibushi Keno, tons of fun. Ibushi with any
Mhm.
of the old badass guys. I think Ibushi and Fujita might be a lot of fun because Fujita might be a dick and Kota would actually kick him in the face. So
Yeah.
I think that could
Yeah.
be a lot of fun. Yes,
Uh,
I think
Ib
this would be a great
Ibushi
move.
Ibushi and Nakajima has me salivating. That I think that it would be fantastic. Ibushi and Inamura. I mean, I know I like the big heavy brothers, so Inamura got a big soft spot for him. So lots of talent there that he could actually work with. So that would be very cool.
Big
So
time.
last before we get into our little Q&A here. So we speculated last week about whether or not Impact would sign Mandy Rose. Well, if they're going to, they'll have to bring a lot of money because Mandy Rose, since she's been fired, has made $500,000 on her fan site thing that she does there. According to her manager, Malky Kawa. Malky Kawa, by the way, as Ryan Frederick will tell you, full of shit. He is a well-known dipshit in the world of
Bullshit
like
artist. Yeah.
but that's why he's been such an effective agent for a long time. Every time John Jones would get in trouble, there was old Malky to be on Ariel Helwani's show, spouting off lies and covering up for him. So, but Malky, the super agent, who was Mandy Rose's agent, said she's made $500,000 since she's been fired, and she'd probably make clear $1 million by the time she hits Christmas.
That's a lot of money, man. Well, okay. Yeah. Here's the thing though, is that like when these things happen, her not being on TV is going to start really
Mhm.
hurting her drawing power. Like she's going to
Yeah.
have to make a lot of money now and invest some of it smartly because $500,000 is a lot of money, but that's going to
Oh yeah.
start going down. It will because I wonder too is in order to keep those subscriptions up, is she going to have to like up her game? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
is she going to be in
I don't
like
even
full
want to
blown?
speculate. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't want to. I don't. Yeah, I
Mm.
don't want to speculate, but you know where I'm
Yeah.
going with that. You
Yeah,
know,
but I think in order to keep like it's like your merchandise sales aren't going to live forever either. Once you're off TV, like the people that but the next person's going to come along, and then you're going to be old news again. So you got to keep yourself relevant, keep yourself on TV. So how does she do that? I think Impact could be a place where she could do that. The audience is much smaller, but it's bigger than zero, right? And then while you're there, you're only working once a month. You could go do other things. You should get into reality shows. You can do all kinds of other stuff if you want to keep your main source of income, which it appears to be this website. If you want to keep that stuff, if you want to keep that train rolling, I think that you do need to kind of have a home base. And we've talked about it before with guys go like with Ibushi going to Noah, who is not going to start a fan site, which actually he might, who knows? But
Anything is possible with Kota Ibushi.
He's pretty crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but like Noah could be the home base, and then he can go do all this other crazy stuff that he likes to go do. He can go do wrestling matches with fireworks coming out of his ass. Like he can do all that stuff. Yeah, and so Mandy Rose can come to Impact, and then she can go do all the other wild and crazy stuff that she wants to do to make money. She'll have the time to do it, and she'll have a little bit more exposure. Now, look, I know the TV ratings aren't good here, but they do have a big social following. And look, they're on in a lot of countries, and a lot of countries have access to those sites and might be willing to pay for it. So I think that they could actually help each other out here.
I don't think you see her step foot in a wrestling mat, for damn near a year.
Yeah, I see. I could see that because she's got enough money to eat right now for a long time.
Here's another thing. Dave and Jim Valley were talking about this on the Observer Radio last night or this morning. Like, you see these NXT folks get released, and you always hear well, it's not the last you've heard of me, the Dan Matha, and then you never hear hide nor hair from him again. Like, Papa Hunter's been bringing people back because he's worse than Tony Khan as far as just bringing people into the company. Like, they're just whoever. I had lunch with you once. Would you like a job? Like, it's crazy how much they're coming back. And I think that if I think she's in this crux thing, right? She can either stick with this big, and she's making a lot of money right now, or she can get out of it and go back to WWE in like 6 months to a year. I think those are the options. I don't see her going back I don't see her coming to Impact because I don't think she's enough of a wrestling fan. I
see that because she didn't go to like a traditional wrestling school. She won a contest, right? Or not? She didn't even win a contest. She entered a contest.
She took second.
Yeah,
like she took second in a contest, and she's not like a lifelong wrestling fan. Like, I don't foresee, and I could be wrong because I said the same thing about Miro, and I was wrong about him coming to WWE, but it turns out maybe I was kind of right after all. I don't see her as being someone who thinks they deserve to work quote unquote indies, right? I think that, and I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I don't see why here's the thing too, making a lot of money right now is I don't know if the guy who's giving her advice is going to give her the right advice anyway. Like, these are like the feast times, and you need to be storing for the winter right now. And oftentimes people get the wrong advice when you come into a big cash flow and they want to think it's coming forever and spend. I don't foresee anything good coming of this, to be quite honest with you. I don't think she's coming to Impact. I don't think she's going to wrestle again unless it's for WWE.
If I were a betting man, I would bet against it. Her coming to Impact. But if I had to choose, like, hey, who do you think she would go to, Impact or AEW? I would say Impact over AEW. I think AEW would take her.
For the same reasons, right? I don't think Warner Media wants the baggage that she brings now, right? Because I mean, she's doing since last week, a lot more has come out. Pardon the pun. Like, it's essentially softcore porn.
I never would have thought anything until you said "pardon the pun." I was like, "Oh, JD, come on."
I am that classless, sir. She's essentially doing softcore porn, and that's what I was saying. Like, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
I mean, it's sketchy. It's sketchy. So I think that AEW is going to steer clear of her. Whereas Impact, I could see Impact taking a chance, but I don't know. I don't know if she'll take a chance on Impact because the people that come to Impact love pro wrestling, right? Like, Heath loves pro wrestling. Rhino loves pro wrestling. Those guys are wrestling guys. I don't think that's true with me. Like, we'll put it this way: if Toxic Attraction, the whole crew, got released, Gigi Dolan would get picked up in a heartbeat by either AEW or Impact, right? Yeah. She's got indie cred. She loves pro wrestling. The other one, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I know. You make a great point. I totally agree. I have serious doubts that she would ever come here. But hey, guys, that's it for the news today. We're gonna go ahead and take some questions. So if you guys do want to do a Q&A or got any topics you want us to hit, go ahead and pop them in the chat here. I'm going to go scroll back through the chat. So Dobby the Brain Hina says everyone's biggest issue with Impact was not holding on to their homegrown guys and taking ex-WWE guys. This would be with Johnny Impact. This would be them doing that all over again, history repeating itself. I do agree. I do agree with that. I think that we want to make sure that we're, not not relying too much on ex WWE guys for sure.
I agree with that, but who's homegrown by Impact?
Ace Austin,
Okay, I'll give you
Chris Ace Austin, Chris Bay, Josh
yeah.
Alexander. I know Moose was.
Josh is in his mid-30s, man. He's not homegrown from Impact.
He is homegrown. He has never been on TV until he came to Impact, right? And then Moose was on Ring of Honor TV, but that was an indie promotion in the time that he was there. They weren't actually on Sinclair yet, I don't believe. Like Moose didn't really have a big name.
Incorrect.
He didn't come like. But when he came to Impact,
I watched Moose tag team with Okada on pay-per-view. He was pushed and well regarded in Ring of Honor. He wasn't getting paid what he thought he deserved. Moose was, and I will not allow that Ring of Honor slander, sir, to say that Moose was homegrown in Impact, because it is not in fact accurate.
I thought Moose was in Dragon Gate. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting. No, I'm kidding. Was he? Did he ever have?
No, did he do a DG USA show? I'm trying to remember how long he's actually been in the game. It's possible. Yeah. I got to go back and look through some.
All right. Yeah. I'm getting corrected like a mofo. Here we go. Yeah. Josiah.
Thank you, Josiah.
I would say Macklin is pretty homegrown in terms of reinventing himself there. I agree. But he did say Moose was on.
Do you consider Moxley in AEW homegrown? I wouldn't say he's
not homegrown, but I consider him an AEW guy. Right, but not homegrown.
Okay.
That's different.
The homegrown thing is where I take issue. So okay.
Yeah, okay. But I see Moose as being more of an Impact guy than he ever was a Ring of Honor guy, because he just wasn't in Ring of Honor that long. Yeah,
that was a few years, but I mean he's achieved far more here than he did in Ring of Honor. No one could argue that.
Yeah. But Moose was being groomed to be a top guy in Ring of Honor, but then he left because Impact offered him 6 figures.
And he was also way down the pecking order of Ring of Honor, because that was an era where you had Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes and Adam Cole, and there were some legit dudes in Ring of Honor at the time.
Yeah, Diener is homegrown and Tasha Steele, so I wouldn't be surprised at Diener, but okay. Yeah. So there are some homegrown talents, and then of course there's all the homegrown Impact stars, but the TNA stars, but they're all in the other companies now. So.
Yeah, they're all in AEW and WWE. So.
But the Anthem grown talent, circa 2017 and on, there are a handful out there that they have actually, groomed themselves. Well, if nobody's got anything in the chat, we can go to some more stories. Well, I don't know.
Not go Jonah, as well as we'd hoped. Yes,
I know Jonah made his return back to WWE this week. Are you offended that he beat Okada and now he's in WWE? Does that upset you, JD?
No, why would it upset me? I think it's I think it's funny that people are saying he's in a better place when he's being the Miz's heavy, which has traditionally not been a spot that has rewarded that particular person with that role. But I mean, he's getting paid, so good for him. I mean, here's the thing about Jonah had a perfect New Japan story. He came in, right? He did the Stan Hansen run. He came in, he wrecked shop, he beat the guy, and then the guy beat him. Perfect beginning, middle, and end.
Same thing with in Impact. He came in, he attacked Josh. They had the match with Josh. Josh beat him. Then he pivoted to a few with PCO. They did 3 matches, and then PCO beat him, and he left the company. It was a good little run. So, so Josiah said I had to keep telling people that Jonah did lose to Okada on his way out. Of course he did. He did business the right way. Absolutely. And then John Mia says he needs to get away from Miz as soon as possible. Well, they just started that, so I don't know. Maybe, hopefully, he doesn't go the way of Alex Riley or Damian Sandow. So,
quite a few of those actually. Going with the Miz is not exactly a rocket pack to stardom.
Michael wants to know, what are your predictions for Impact for 2023? Prediction. So here is a bold prediction for Impact in 2023. I think they're going to expand on this deal that they have with DAZN, and DAZN is going to take over as a sole streaming service for Impact. I think by the end of 2023, we're going to see that for them, and I think that'll be a good deal for Impact. They'll stick with Access, and then they'll just do, instead of having Impact Plus, they'll just be on DAZN everywhere. And then all the pay-per-views go to DAZN. I see that happening. DAZN seems like they're really trying to get behind Impact on this deal.
Yeah, this is kind of the big deal. Impact. I know a lot of people were kind of like, when it happened, but I do think you're right. I think that has the potential to be a real transformative deal for this company, because not a lot of wrestling is growing right now. Like, it's not as bad as people think, but it's not growing either. Not just here, but kind of across the board. Recession talk going on. That's just the reality of things. But being part of that DAZN package could really change things for them. I'm very curious to see where we are in a year. I really am.
Yeah, you got any big predictions for 2023?
Survival. I think the company will be open at the end of 2023.
Well, nothing's gonna kill this company.
I predict that you will see the bigger indie talent, like the more traditional indie talent, some of the GCW guys and stuff like that, make their way to Impact in 2023.
Yeah, I see that. You know what? I was gonna save this for our Hard to Kill prediction show, but Hard to Kill, by the way, is on January 13th, and that's a very special day because that is my wife's birthday. So I will not be watching that show that night. I will be doing a probably better late than never review of that Hard to Kill. So I just want to get that out there now. But before then, here is a bold prediction. And Gerard, big new distribution deal, has a new baby. I think I try to convince him to name his new baby DAZN, but he's not going to do it. But Gerard, our buddy, bear down himself. And Mazel Tov and congratulations to the new addition of the family, Gerard. We all love you. He said this, but this was also my idea. Like, I was waiting to bring this up on one of these shows, but here's the bold prediction. Mickie James will beat Jordynne Grace with help from Nick Aldis, and she's going to turn heel at Hard to Kill. Nick Aldis returns to the company. Mickie turns heel. She already cheated against Diona a couple of weeks ago. I think they're planting the seeds. I think Grace is going to beat her down. Nick Aldis shows up and boom, hits Jordynne Grace, and then Mickie James wins the title. Brand new heel. What do you think?
Well, I like it, sir. I think the package should be. I think we've advocated this before on this show, but I think bringing Nick Aldis in as a top ready-made heel to work with Josh is a great move. Yes, big fan.
Yeah, I really dig that. And, there were some other, I already talked about Mance Warner, talked about Crash Jackson. Another guy that, and I think Josiah was talking to me about this one, and our buddy Brad, was this guy Akira who works out of the West Coast out of Prestige Wrestling. I think that's a guy that they could possibly look at. Jordan Oliver is another guy that they could look at. There's a ton of indie talent out there that they should really consider bringing in. And then of course I would like for them to be able to either work a deal with MLW or do something, but they got to try to get dates on this Fatu guy. Like, he is just awesome, man. I would love to see Fatu in this company.
Fatu is, man, I know he's got some arrests back in the past that have hurt him from reaching a more mainstream roster. I hope it's not what's preventing stuff here. He's been very loyal to MLW since 2018 or 2019. And I think he's one of the best kept secrets kind of going. I don't think people realize just how good he is. He's the best person on that roster in MLW and has been for a while.
Yeah, easily. I mean, I like Hammerstone. Hammerstone's got a good gimmick.
He's got a good gimmick.
Yeah, Fatu's way better. Yeah.
Yeah. Fatu's he's part of the family. They're all just really good at professional wrestling. I hate to be that way, but they really are. Fatu is awesome. If he came, I just won't. I mean, he's been so loyal to MLW. I would love to see that guy come in here. I really do. He could change. He could be a nice little shock to the systems of this place.
Yeah. And Hammerstone would be a great addition too. But if I had to pick between Hammerstone and Fatu, I'm picking Fatu.
All day, twice on Sunday, however that cliche goes. Hammerstone's fine, but he's kind of I don't know. He's like a throwback 90s big muscle guy. And he's a good worker. But Fatu's a really good worker.
Fatu's a top level worker. He is a main event heel worker. I know the comparison.
He could be a babyface too, though. He could do babyface stuff. He could do either. He's that good. Yeah.
Well, and also Fatu, he acknowledged Dave and Garrett as official members of the Oos family, so called them Oos. So that's pretty cool. So the first time I ever saw Fatu, Jacob Fatu, was at an all-pro wrestling show in San Francisco on the undercard, and I'd never seen this guy before. He hadn't been on TV yet. This would have been in early 2016, 2017, and the guy was one of the most incredible guys I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's fantastic, man.
Oh, look, here's our buddy Joel. He said, yeah, but it means that nothing if Fatu doesn't recognize Swingman as the main Oos. Well, I think that's where they have to go with it. I think that eventually Swinger has to become the official Oos, and they do the whole Sami Zayn storyline, but in Impact.
God, that would be freaking hilarious. Like I can see that playing out in my head, and I'm like, this
Yeah.
is comedy gold. That would actually be legitimately
it would-
funny.
Well, you know what would be great is if Fatu comes in and then Swinger thinks that he's one of the wild Samoans and starts talking to him like he's Alpha and Sika, right? Like that would be like he would just keep thinking that that's him and like trying to find out what language to talk to him in. And like Fatu's like, bro, I'm from San Francisco. Like,
I would watch that and it would be stupid, but all Swinger stuff is stupid, but there's something about him that just makes it work. The man is unheralded in how good he is at making dumb shit legitimately funny. Like, yes. That's another bold prediction in 2023. Johnny Swinger will be funny.
Yeah, that's an easy prediction. And my next prediction is I'm going to sign off now. I think we've been going for a while. We had a really fun show to talk about. Thank you to everybody that's in the chat. Thanks to John and Joel and Lil Silver, Josiah, Michael and Pat and all the boys. Everybody that joined in on the chat with us. Stick it right here. Head over to patreon.com/fightgamemedia where you get this audio gold each and every week with all the extra content. And not only that, you get a lot of the other stuff too, man. You get Paul Fontaine doing the Dynamite Show with our buddy Jeff Hawkins every week. John LaRocca and Garrett Gonzalez, where they got the retro Raw review show. In the Clinch is also our MMA show. Robert Silva does our boxing show, Pound for Pound. He does that each and every week. So we got a lot of great content. If you love pro wrestling, you love boxing, you love MMA, Fight Game Media is where it's at. Head over to patreon.com/fightgamemedia. JD, before we get out of here, anything to plug?
Nope, not a thing.
Nope.
Enjoy the holidays.
Same here. You probably catch me, on Wrestling Observer Network again. Dave Meltzer might give me a call one day. Brother Brian Alvarez might give me a call one day. I'm sure Lance Storm probably in my DMs by now after how badly I kissed his ass on Garrett's show this week. So maybe somebody will give me a call from there. But
Lance does not acknowledge the existence of this show. We've tried. We have mutual friends. It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Hey guys, that's going to do it for us. Merry Christmas. Next week. Next week Impact's doing a best of show, so JD and I will work something out, but we probably won't be doing a recap of that. We'll probably do something special for everybody. So Merry Christmas, everybody, and until next week, mahalo.